What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the 440 Guitar Podcast. I am your host, Jerrell Powell. Thank you so much for tuning up. You can get the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and anchor.fm/440. Be sure to follow the podcast on Instagram as well at the 440 Guitar Podcast to get updates on the episodes coming out. And if you know of an artist that you'd like for me to speak with, feel free to send me either a message on Instagram. You can email me at the 440podcast at gmail.com. Or you can also send me a voicemail, believe it or not. If you go to anchor.fm/440, you can send me a voicemail as well. I actually was able to speak with a great artist that way also. So feel free to do that if you'd like to do so. Today, I'm very, very excited to speak with this artist. He is a DC-based guitarist and singer. Is known for his psychedelic soul with a touch of blues rock, in addition to playing with bands such as Nappy Riddem, The Ordinary Way, and The Future. Has shared the stage and toured extensively throughout the country with the likes of legends, Blues Traveler, Junior Marvin, Derek Trucks Band, Bob Weir, and I'm sure many others that I haven't mentioned. But the 440 Guitar Podcast is very humbly excited to speak with Gordon Sterling. How are you doing?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm trying not to melt here in Southern California.
I hear you, man. Oh man.
It's yeah, it's getting pretty warm out here. When I look at my thermometer for how hot it is, it just says heat warning. So
Yeah, yeah.
if there's any constellation,
Big
how,
to start flat.
yeah. It's like get in the house, turn on the AC. How's it going over there? What do you have going on this week? I know your album, which we'll talk about later in the show, debuted last week. Congrats on that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Of course.
Um, right now we had a pretty full weekend because, like you said, we released our record, and that was a big deal.
Right.
Right now, I'm kind of just chilling, which is good. But this week, gonna have some rehearsal later on, get some things tighter because we have a few shows coming up. September 18th, we're gonna be in Frederick, Maryland, and then on the 28th, we're gonna be in Leesburg. So we have a bunch of stuff coming up that we have to get ready for. So we're kind of in that mode right now. Album's out. Now all the real work begins.
Promoting
We're already exhausted leading up to it too.
right. Oh yeah, I would imagine. Definitely. So here on the 440 Guitar Podcast, we're really big on origin stories, how people got to where they are today. So without further ado, one of the first questions I like to ask a lot of the artists that I speak to, tell me about your earliest memory of music.
Wow, my earliest memory. Okay, my earliest memory of music. My parents are from Jamaica, and my dad, who got his business degree and spent his professional life in business, he also had this great love for music. And in Jamaica, as here when they moved here, there are a lot of house parties, right? Lots of dancing, lots of music, and there's no real separation. Like you don't send the kids to the kids' rooms. Like everybody just hangs out together. And my dad was like kind of like an amateur DJ. And so my first earliest memories of music were him digging in his crates in Queens, New York, which is where they moved to in the United States, where I was born. And just seeing my parents and family and their friends just dancing and loving it. So my earliest memories of music were literally as long as I can remember, and always a joyous thing.
Wow. So as far as like music in the house, was that something that was pretty prominent as far as growing
Oh,
up listening to music and whatnot?
oh yeah, constant. Where there's reggae, calypso, soca, or jazz. My dad really liked the jazz. He loved R&B and funk. So or still loves. He's still here. So but yeah, constant music
Mm.
actually. In the car driving, they always had music on. So it's weird. I didn't think about it that much, but I guess it's always been around. And I'm like that now. I constantly have music, playing or watching or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's and it's always in my head.
It's such an interesting time now because I feel like sometimes we take it for granted where we have all these platforms where you have this minutia of music that you can choose what you want to listen to. When I feel like back then it's like you had these dedicated records that were hand picked out. This is
Mhm,
what I
mhm.
like, and then most of the time, like actually the effort of pulling it out and playing it, I just feel like it just meant so much more than it does
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
You
Because it
know?
was and you had to search for music
Yeah.
back then. To search a lot more than you do now.
Right.
But it's give and take though, because music is so available
Mhm.
now that anybody can then soak it up. I think it's easier to find music now, but a lot easier to take it for granted.
Right. Right.
So I appreciate any community that is willing to embrace it, or anybody that's willing to embrace it full on, because
Yeah.
music changed my life, can change many lives.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, it's because I remember watching an interview where Questlove was having this conversation with somebody about like his like dad's like records, like his vinyl records. And like I guess
Hmm.
he like after he passed, he like sold the vinyl records and then he mentioned it to someone and someone was like, "Why did you do that?" And he was
Yeah,
like, "Oh man, why did I do that?"
yeah, yeah, exactly. Why did he?
So he was trying to go and like get these records back, but then he became like an even bigger music lover. But I was just like, man, like I wish I had like a huge collection of vinyl records that I could pass on and keep.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, that's what I'm gonna do with my dad's records, man. So I'm gonna be the keeper of the flame and
awesome,
keep those things going, man. And
right?
vinyl can't go away. We're actually gonna be releasing our record in on vinyl, but probably in 2023.
Oh,
We're gonna
phenomenal.
vinyl. So right now it's only on streaming, but
Okay.
vinyl's important. That can't die. Music sounds just different,
Yes.
on vinyl. So warm and so just like you're just in it when listening to vinyl. It's no
Right.
other experience.
Yeah, that's how I've explained it too. As far as vinyl sound, it feels like you're in the room. Feels like you're in the room when
Yeah,
it's happening.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. You were in on the session.
Right.
you know?
Definitely, definitely. So, I want to talk about as far as just when it came to, you learning the guitar. How old were you when you first kind of picked up the guitar for yourself?
I was 15 years old, which I don't know if that's late or not for when people start playing guitar. I got into guitar really just kind of all of a sudden. I it's a weird story, but I had a dream one night that led me to playing guitar, and
Wow.
literally the next yeah, it's kind of a strange thing. It's a strange dream. It's lofty sounding, but it's real. It's what happened to me. I went to sleep one night and I had a dream that left me with the feeling that I needed to learn how to play music because I was going to be part of something that helped remind people of a side of themselves they'd forgotten. It was the
Mm.
most profound thing, other than the birth of my daughter, that's ever happened to me. And I woke up the next day and was just like, I need to play music. I'm gonna play music. And I was
Yeah.
always interested in the guitar. And so my parents must have thought I was crazy, but they were like, all right. So I took guitar. They offered guitar in school, in my high school, at Robinson High School. And by this time I lived down here. I lived in Virginia, in the DC area. And I they offered it as an elective in my sophomore year of high school. So I took it my sophomore year, my junior year. Had the same teacher, Glenn McCarthy, who I'm still friends with to this day.
Mm.
And just that was it, and I was hooked.
That is
Started live right when I got out of high school.
that
Yeah,
is so interesting. It's like a musical divine intervention.
yeah,
That
it's
is so
crazy.
wild. That is
It
so
was crazy.
wild.
It's an odd. I tell the story a lot because it's what happened to me, but it's always a weird story when I hear myself saying it. I'm like, man, people can think I'm crazy. It was what it said, but
Were you playing?
whatever.
Were you so? Were you playing? Were you playing guitar in your dream, and then you woke up and you're just
No,
like,
no, no, no. I
okay,
wasn't playing guitar. The dream. The dream was just like you got to play music.
hmm,
And then I when I woke up, I was like, I want to play music, but I'd always been like kind of interested in the guitar. You
yeah,
know what I mean? Like I was like, if I'm gonna play something, I'm gonna play the guitar because the
yeah,
guitar is just.
Mm.
and all the music that I really liked, all the people that, you know, the guitar just moved me. All the players that I was into, just that's what I focused on. So
Yeah.
naturally, I was like, all right, if I'm going to play music, I'm going to do guitar. Because as a
Wow.
child, my mother tried to get me to play piano, and I just wouldn't do it. You know, so it's weird that I ended up playing music.
Right. Right. Wow. Talk a little bit as far as for some of the artists or guitarists that inspired you to, in fact, make that decision, at 15 and wanting to play guitar. Who are some artists that kind of call out to you that you feel like were kind of rooted in your interest in playing guitar?
Hendrix, without a doubt, and I know that's the, you know, the go-to for people. But you know, being a black guy playing guitar, that's you know, that was a big kind of symbol
Yeah.
for me, especially the kind of guitar I wanted to play.
Mm.
Hendrix, though, and Jeff Beck,
Mm.
definitely. Um, if I had to think about it, I would say, Stevie Ray Vaughan,
Mm.
David Gilmour. Um, yeah, those are people that I wanted to be like. You know what I
Mm.
mean? That just, and they're all very different, but they're just approach to the instrument is just like, to me, their sounds, all of the ones I just mentioned, their sound kind of transcends the instrument. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Current day people that do that are like Derek Trucks, who are they're just playing something that is just like, I don't know, just pulling something else out of the air. It's beautiful. It's amazing. So I
He's my
wanted to do that. To play something, I wanted to try to do that.
mm.
I don't know if I'm succeeding, but that's what I try to do.
He's my favorite slide guitar player. He's in
Derek Trucks.
yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
God. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
ridiculous. I was lucky enough. My old band, The Ordinary Way, we played a couple of festivals and gigs that the Derek Trucks band was on,
Yeah.
and got to meet him once or twice. But he is, yeah, man, that guy is. He's pulling from something else in the universe. It's not, you know what I
Right.
mean? He's not playing guitar. It's not. It's just you can feel it. You know, people
Right.
who don't care for music are just like moved by it. That's something special, I think.
Yeah. It's funny if you
He's the guy of inspiration. For sure. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut
yeah.
you off.
No, no, not at all. No, I was gonna say like it's funny because I feel like the guitar is one of those fun instruments where you get to showboat. You know what I mean? It's like we've seen
Yeah,
some of our greats do this great showboating. Like Freddie King or BB King, and
yeah,
and for and obviously Hendrix as well. But you talk about Derek Trucks, and he's so focused every time he plays.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's like he's just it almost reminds me of like John Coltrane or something, where it's just
Yeah,
he is focused on something spiritual or something, in the air that is really pulling through, and putting through that speaker, through his guitar.
right,
So it's like he's in a different world. You know what I mean?
right,
It's
right. Like a what is it? A vessel or a channel for something else. So it's almost like he can't showboat. You know what I mean?
yeah.
He can't. He's using all of his being to just like shoot it. He's got to focus right there. You don't fuck it up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's funny. It's you're a special guitar player. I remember when BB King he said because he performed with them in very very like in the pretty much the latter years of BB King's life before he passed. But he was just like, man, if I was a girl.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I was like, that is a comment that's like so amazing. Like if one of the greatest guitar
Yeah,
players to tell you that, like, oh man, that's
yeah.
it. I'm playing guitar forever.
Dude, he said that in front of his wife. Just
I was like, that's awesome.
hilarious. That's hilarious. I
Uh,
can't wait to get that old. I hope I get that old where I can just like say whatever the hell I want in front of anybody.
and
Man,
it's like he's a legend. Like no one's gonna say anything.
what are
You
you
know
gonna
what I
say
mean?
to him? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now obviously, not only just guitar, but you have a wonderful voice. Um,
Thank you. Thank you
of
very much.
course, of course. When did that start happening? Was that kind of at the same time, or when did you kind of like start
Yeah,
singing?
Yeah, it was kind of the same time, man. I'll be honest with you. When I first started, I had this dream, like I said, I was just like, all right, well, I'm gonna do this. Then, like a couple of years later, rubber hit the road, and it was like, all right, now I'm gonna put a band together. Um, and I was shy. I wanted to be, so I wrote songs, right? I still obviously write a lot of songs. Um, but I pictured myself as a backup singer and a rhythm guitar player, right? I didn't think that I was going to be in the front at all. And then the more I started to write these songs, I started to like sing to them. And my friend Chris, who was the original bass player in The Ordinary Way in my first band that I was talking about, he was like, "Look, man, you're writing all this stuff, and you sound good singing it. You're writing it around your voice. Like you have to be the singer." You know, and then same thing with lead playing is that's something that just I was always interested in, but didn't necessarily have the confidence, and it just kind of gradually was just like, well, who else is going to do it? You got to do it, you know. And so I did it and could do it. You know what I mean? So I didn't have any voice training outside of taking it as an elective with guitar. I didn't have any. I only had one guitar teacher, and I had him one period a day for 2 years. You know, but it kind of just I just can't. I don't know. I don't know. I hope I don't lose it. You know, I've gotten tips from other singers that I know that are wonderful singers that over the years that have taught me like breathing the correct way and all that. But as far as just being able to sing, I think it just kind of happened. There was no, you know, I didn't like sing in church or anything like that. I just can't. I don't know.
Wow. Wow.
I don't know.
That's neat. I think it's a testament to your ear as well. You know what I mean? Because I feel like there's a lot of people that you can tell that they, and I'm not a singer personally, but you can tell when there's certain folks that have a vocal range, but as far as actually controlling that, that's where
Yeah,
kind of like the training is needed. But when it comes to you singing, I mean, I could like I could like if it was me, I would say you'd be singing professionally for years and years and years. You know what I mean? So it's just like, oh, like obviously whatever you're writing to your voice, like it matches great. You know what I mean? So I think
yeah,
that's yeah,
yeah. I mean, now I've been singing professionally for a while, but as far as like a trained professional,
yeah,
I'm not a trained.
yeah.
Uh, and even professional is loose. Like I get paid for doing it, so I guess it makes you professional. But
Right.
you know, I don't
Right.
know. It's hard to think of myself as a grown up still.
So tell me about the as far as when you, because I know you said you were in you're in the prior band, The Ordinary Way. Tell me about
Yeah.
when you assembled, Gordon Sterling and the People.
So Gordon Stone and the People happened. Okay, so this is this is funny. So after Ordinary Way, I and friends of mine started Future, and then after Future, I joined Nappy Riddem,
Mm.
and then Nappy Riddem doesn't play as much. It happens every once in a while. Our singer Mustafa, rest his soul, passed away
Oh,
um, years ago in 2019. And so we play every once in a while, and I'll do lead and stuff. But Going from the People happened out of just a necessity, I guess. I wanted, to be heard again, I guess as a front man. And I wanted to have a band that represented, because I've led bands, you know what I mean? But I haven't had a band that was really like kind of my vision. And that doesn't mean that the other players can't write. Everybody's welcome to write. I kind of hog the lyrics, but but everybody's welcome to write music. Um, but I wanted it to be a reflection of what I really wanted to do. Um, the original incarnation of Gordon Showing the People before the pandemic literally completely different, a completely different group of people, and they are my friends to this day. Most of them are my friends to this day, and always will be my friends. But again, when I started that, it didn't feel like this one does. And then the pandemic hit, and kind of reset everything, you know. And it happened at a weird time because I almost put out an EP with that other group, right? We put out one single, America the Critical. But then pandemic hit, and I just kind of like, you know, with Cliff, the other guitar player in the band now, with it being the pandemic, I was like, okay, I gotta, like a lot of people, have to figure out something money wise or something. So, because gigs weren't happening, obviously. And I was like, you know what, I think I'm gonna teach, but I'm so far removed from learning the guitar that I kind of have to like learn to teach again. You know what I'm saying? Like to bring myself back to there so I could relate to a younger player. So I came to my friend Cliff, or he came to me rather. It was like, hey, if you ever want lessons of how to, you know, do that, I can help you out. We got together. Those lessons quickly. I don't think a lesson happened. I think they turned right into like writing sessions immediately.
Oh wow.
Because he was like, I have this thing. What you want to hear this thing? I just want your opinion on the song. I heard it, and I was like, can I actually do something to that? And I like finished the song for him. He's like, oh, and then we just instantly got this kind of symbiotic mind thing going where we can just write songs like that. And, you know what I mean? And I was like, all right, this is cool. And then Scott and Dave, a bass player and drummer respectively, I played with them in a trio sense for years. And I was like, they've got to be the trio. I mean, they've got to be the drummer and the keyboard player. I mean, drummer and bass player, sorry. And then Natalie, our keyboard player, I played with her. I used to run this jam in DC, this place called Gypsy Sally's for a while. And she was my keyboard player there. And I was just like, that's who I want to play keys. And so I realized from kind of like putting this together, I was like, actually, this is Gordon Sterling and the People. Like this right here is actually what I want. And came to the other guys and explained that to them. And also, you know, with them, they also had other projects and things like that going on, the other musicians that I had before. And luckily they understood and, you know, were very supportive of it. And I thank them for that, you know, and started this one. So I guess it's kind of in the pandemic. So whenever the pandemic came out and we were playing shows, I guess that was 2021.
Mm.
So this nation's only been around for like a year or so.
Wow.
We recorded this album in 2020. No, wrong. We recorded it in 2021, in February 2021.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, this incarnation hasn't been around very long, and that album came quickly after its writing. So yeah, man. So
Wow.
2020 during the pandemic.
That's wild. Yeah, because you guys play so well together. I mean, it's a very cohesive group of folks that you have, you know,
Thank you.
on that project. So shout out to those artists as well. I guess this is a great time to go into the album. So uh Gordon Sterling and the People, the album Truth, out now. Before we get into a little bit on just kind of your notion as far as like the process of like writing the album, things like that, there's a lot of things I appreciate on the album that I when I listen to it. Firstly, I feel like your guys' sound, it reminds me of like Tom Petty and Sly and the Family Stone with like Hendrix thrown in
Woo!
there.
Oh, okay. I could no, I'm into that.
Yeah.
That's uh I take all that as a compliment.
Yeah,
Right?
no, absolutely is because those are all, you know, obviously those are the very just high tier artists that I absolutely appreciate. I feel like a lot of the song structure reminds me a little bit of like a Tom Petty thing, but just very soulful, you know, and then obviously you got some really strong like soulful blues stuff in there. I think my favorite songs in there, All in All, I'm a big fan of. The Wind That Did Him In, and then I'm Beautiful. I think those are just like killer records. Killer
Thank,
records, bro.
thank
Killer
I'm
records.
Beautiful was the second single, and it quickly became our most popular song
Mm.
because you can the metrics on the when you release it on streaming platforms, you can like see which songs are doing. You know what I mean? So I think Truth both spins, but I'm Beautiful went the farthest, fastest,
Mm.
and yeah, that's it. Yeah, all of those songs. So all, Truth is the album is just that. It is getting out my truth out off my chest, right? Lyrically. Um, and those three songs that you mentioned, like The Wind That Did Him In is very autobiographical.
Mm.
You know, I am the kid in the story. Um, and for those of you who want to know what he's talking about, go download the record or go stream. You'll see what we mean. Um, I guess they're all autobiographical. All in all, is just about. I think I wrote that from a place of like I said during the pandemic, just like you know thinking of the things you can control or the things you can I said like all in all we did the best we could. You know what I mean? There's nothing left to say. It's kind of like the theme of that album, of that record. And I felt that way after when you're looking at the world in the pandemic. We didn't know where things were going to go. We didn't know. It's like, well, all in all, man, all you can do is all you can do.
Yeah.
And then hope for the best, be good to each other, hope for the best. That's where that one came from. I'm Beautiful is all obviously about being Black in America and dealing with the way America can be to us. And yeah, so I'm glad you mentioned those songs, and I'm glad you got into them, and they hit you, because that's what they're for.
Yeah.
They're for people to get into them. I really hope that people can draw some of their own stories out of it.
Mhm.
Not just but find a way to connect to it.
Yeah, definitely. One thing I wanted to mention too is that I feel like the album, there's like something for everyone for this
Mhm.
album. And what I mean by that is like for like someone who appreciates like really good lyricism, and then those who just appreciate like, like soul and blues, but then also just like music lovers. Like you have 5, 6, 8, 10, almost 12-minute songs on this album. And I think that's fantastic. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
where the right now the status quo is, songs that are like 2, 3, 4 minutes, but you guys
yeah,
have these really great grooves and pockets where it's like, no, let's stay on this. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
and
yeah.
everyone's just ripping, and it's just crescendoing, and I'm just like, I really dig this, because
Thank
I
you.
first thought it was a live album at one point, and I was like, no, it's not a live album. This was recorded, and I was like, wow, like these songs are as if like, it's like the James Brown cuts where it's like, no, Sex Machine originally was like 10, 12 minutes. That was the
Yeah,
song, and they had to cut it down.
yeah. A
you
lot of it's
know,
like that. I appreciate that. We tried to get lightning in a bottle. We tried to, because we're a very live band. We're a very live band, and there are some bands that are just like more suited for the studio, and we wanted to try to make a record that was, like you said, soulful and warm, and kind of you could sit down and just listen to these songs, but also we're a fucking rock band. Like, we want to
right.
get down and like stretch out sometimes. So we tried to find. We luckily, our producer Ryan Leonardo, he was actually the percussionist in The Ordinary Way in my first band,
Oh,
and
cool.
so he and I have known each other for years, and we, and I he, during the pandemic, he's like, yo man, I want to I want to do some studio stuff, because he does a lot of live engineering too, and he's like, I want to do more studio recording. If you know of a band that's interested, let me know. And I was like, actually, I do know a band. I want to do it. He's like, really? He's like, oh, I didn't think you were. Didn't you just record with The Last Incarnation? I was like, yeah, but change it up. We got all these new songs. I want to go in and do a full album. He's like, full album? He's like, all right, I got you. We went into 38 North, which is a studio here in Virginia. It's in Falls Church, Virginia. And the guy I know named Buddy Spear owns it. And he was gracious enough to, open it to us for a few days. And we got some great stuff in there. They have a Neve console in there, which is rare.
Ooh,
Yeah. So
wow.
we got to record that on the Neve, which is really dope.
Mm.
Um and yeah, it's we did most of it. So the basic tracks, we went in there and did do them live, and then went in afterwards and overdubbed a whole bunch of stuff. So at the core, it's a live record, like you're saying, or at least when I say a live record, we played it together, but then we were able to just add all this other stuff. Like I said, our producer was so wonderful helping us with that and mold the sound. So
Yeah.
thanks. It seems like the way you are taking it is as we intended it. So
Great.
thank you.
Great. Yeah, man. Yeah, I just love that it's really an album for people who just love music, and obviously you have really you have some really powerful messaging on the project as well. But just the just the fact of it being easy to listen to, I think is really important as well, just as important. So, yeah, really fun, and yeah, I just love the fuck it 5, 6, 8 minutes. Let's do it.
Yeah,
I love it. I love
it
it.
goes where it goes.
Yeah, I'm all for
Yeah.
it. I'm all for it. I was like, wow, they really said, no, this is how long the songs are. But I mean, I feel like one of the biggest things is that I feel like when you have people listening to this, you're gonna have a lot of people that will be like, man, I got to see him live when they tour. I got to see him in my city. So like,
Yeah,
that's
that's
that.
what we're hoping for.
Yeah, definitely. Now I wouldn't be a guitar player or a guitarist if I didn't ask about your gear.
All right.
So so the obviously when I see videos on YouTube or whatnot, you're holding that lovely Strat. I mean, tell me about the guitars that you used on the project.
Okay, so that Strat, that is Coco. That is my favorite guitar. And yeah, I'm that guy. I name my guitars.
Hey, me too. Me too.
So Coco is a okay, in 2012 or 2013, they did Fender did a special run, custom shop did a special run of 1959 Strat.
Mm.
They only made 59 of them. And Coco is number 21 of 59. In fact, that's the serial number says 21 of 59.
Wow.
And back then I worked at Guitar Center, and yeah, I literally unboxed that guitar when it came off the truck. And so I was the first person to grab it and hold it. And I was like, what is played it, fell in love with it. Immediately wanted to buy it, but you had to get permission from then they had district managers. I had to get and they switched it up now. I don't think they have district managers now, but back then they did have to, and I did not get along with my district manager.
Oh shit.
I got along with my store manager, but my district manager did not like me, and so I didn't think he was gonna allow me. But he was like, "If you buy it today, you can get it." And I was like, "If I buy, fuck." So I didn't have enough money on me. I just applied for a Guitar Center credit card on the spot. Got approved on the spot. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, it worked out. It worked out. But I love that guitar. It's designed off a 1959 Strat. When I got it, it had Fat 50s in it. I took the Fat 50 pickups, custom shop Fat 50s. I took those out, and in the neck, in the middle position, it's Seymour Duncan Antiquity Texas Hots.
Okay.
Then in the bridge, it's a Seymour Duncan Little 59. So
nice pickup.
And then I also put a Gilmore mod in it, which gives the I guess 3 more tonal options. So yeah, I love that guitar, and a treble bleed because you need a treble bleed. So yeah, those are the specs on that. That was the guitar I used for the majority of the album. I don't think I used anything else actually on the record. I might have just used that in my acoustic. I've got a couple tellies as well, but I didn't use those. I used just that Strat. Yeah, I think that was it. If I'm not mistaken. I don't think I used another guitar on that record. That's crazy. Huh. Whatever, man. I guess that was the sound.
Any certain pedals you used, like as far as like overdrives that you used on the project?
Yeah. So, what I changed my rig a little bit from when I did the record. Now, damn it, I wish I had it here. It's at our practice space. I wish I could just show it to you right now. So my overdrive, I use a few. So my main overdrive is a Tim Pierce from J Rocket Audio Tim Pierce,
Mm.
and it's dual sided. It has a power amp side and then just the overdrive side, and they work together and independently of each other. And it's made to Tim Pierce helped design it. And he wanted it to sound like a nailer,
Mm.
so it's designed off of a nailer amp, and it's my favorite thing. It's on all the time,
Mm.
even when doing clean stuff. I just roll the volume off for clean, but it's always on
Nice.
because it's a different clean also than when I just I then have on the album I used a Dude and J Rocket Audio. I use
Okay.
all my drive pedals are J Rocket Audio, so I used the J Rocket Audio Dude on the album in conjunction with my Tim Pierce,
Mm.
and then also added a the Echoplex preamp to kind of warm it up. And when I'm doing lead, I have since taken the Dude off my board and put on again J Rocket Audio. They're my favorite overdrive company.
Awesome.
And they don't pay me. I'm not sponsored by them. I just like their stuff. But I put a J Rocket Audio flex drive, and
Mm.
I use that in connection with my Tim Pierce now, and with the Echoplex as the preamp.
Nice.
And delay wise, I have an Echoplex as my um when I'm gonna do leads, just to add a bit of zhuzh
Mm.
to it. It's not so much a delay that, you know what I mean. Sometimes you can add delay and it just adds a little like atmosphere,
Yeah.
but it's not a full on delay.
Right.
I use a Strymon El Capistan version 2
Mm.
uh, as my freak out delay.
Nice.
I've got I use a Cali 76 stacked as
Oh,
my
that's nice.
compressor. I love that thing. Love that thing. I use a uh, what is it? Love Pedal Rubber Chicken
Mm.
as my filter. Um, Boss OC5 that I use on the poly setting for my octave.
Mm.
Um, I've got a full tone Clyde Deluxe as my wah, a full tone Deja Vibe um, as my vibe, and a full tone uh, uh, Super Trem 1
Mm.
as my tremolo. And for a while, I didn't like to tell people I use full tone. Yeah, did you hear the story about that
Yeah.
guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know the deal.
Yeah.
The only reason I'm mentioning it now is because he's going out of business, which I'm glad he is.
Yeah.
It's he made great pedals, but obviously he's he's an ass.
Right.
Yeah, I'm glad he's off the scene. And like I said, the only reason I'm saying it now is because he can't make any more money off those pedals,
Right.
and other people have them maybe can. So good, but not to whatever. What's his name? Mark Fuller. Name is not a fan.
Yeah.
Not a fan of the guy.
Yeah.
But good pedal.
Right. Right.
Oh,
What amp did you use? What did you play through for the album?
okay. So I used a 65 twin reverb.
Ooh.
Is my main big amp, and that one's been modded quite a bit. I've got a triode switch on it. I've got a power cut switch on it. And the power cut switch, I can go from like full or half. And I usually set it on half power, and then with the triode switch kicked in, squishes it down a bit, compress it, because that amp can be really bright and just loud as hell. And I use thinking that there's Softex, I think, right now, tubes. And then I've got two WGS ET65s in as my speakers in that. And then I also used a very heavily modded Blues Junior NOS.
Oh wow.
That is I've got two Softex as the power tubes, and then the preamp tubes are JJ's. And I also put a ET65 in that. But then I've just recently got and I did like a Bill M mod to it, and my amp guy actually had a Marshall um transformer that he was able to slip into it, because
Oh,
the one that just like totally pushes the hell out of the amp. Like, it does not sound like a blues unit anymore at all. And then it's in fact, that's the guitar that I used. That's the amp I used on the lead for "I See You" on our album. "I See You" is that amp. It just screams. And then I've since added a extension cab to that amp, because that's another thing. I just modded it so it can take an extension cab, and that one, the extension cab has a Tone Tubby organic Alnico hemp. So
wow.
that's all good. That's the gear.
So
Totally.
needless to say, you're very particular on your sound and how it's shaped. That's cool because I've talked to.
Yeah.
It's funny. I've talked to so many
Oh,
different folks. Oh, go
sorry.
ahead.
No. Continue. I was just saying I forgot my reverb pedal. My bad.
Well, go ahead.
Sorry, I used a New Neighbor Immerse 2
Hmm,
as my reverb set on the wet setting, wet 3 setting, I think is what they call it. Whatever. But yeah,
oh,
I'm
nice.
super tone. I am a gear nerd,
That's
big
great.
time.
That's great. Yeah, it's funny because I've talked to people where it's like phenomenal players are just like, man, I just know the guitar, like
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh wow, that's cool, but
there's a lot of guys like that are just like, man, but with me, I used to be like that, and then I just got like, one day I was like, man, I want to sound like what I want to sound like all the time. I don't want to guess anymore. And so I got into the dark world of pedals and dark world of gear,
yeah.
and I'm still there. I'm never coming out.
No, I'm the same way too, definitely. Um, so one of the last questions I wanted to ask you, for someone listening to the album, is there a certain message that, or a certain way that you want them to feel after listening to it? Like, what would you say is kind of like something that you want to get out of, that you want the album to kind of communicate to the listener, as far as from a message perspective, from just a musical perspective? Is there anything in particular that you're trying to kind of like, you want, like, I want this fan, like whoever listens to it, to get this message out of the project?
Yeah, man, to live your truth, no matter what that is, and don't be afraid of doing. That's why the album's called that. You know what I mean? It is you know, find out the thing that makes you special, find that spark that makes you special, and be that at all times. Yeah, live your truth. Live your truth.
Right.
You know, please. That's what I would want people to get out of it. I hope people get, a joy of sense of self.
Great. Great. Well, Gordon Sterling, it's been a great pleasure having you on the show, man. Thank you so much for speaking with me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
Um, yeah, it was good.
Of course, of course. Well, there you have it, folks. This is Jerrell here on the 440 Guitar Podcast. We will jam again soon, and have a good day.